Hi everyone, and welcome to Using EdTech to Enhance Your Teaching Practice with Edwin. My name is Sherri Ross. I am a facilitator on the Edwin Classroom Success Team, which is just a fancy way of saying that I am one of the many teachers on the team who support teachers and students across Canada with using Edwin in their classrooms as a learning and teaching resource. I have been teaching in Alberta for 12 years now, so I bring lots of experience with using the Alberta Program of Studies, specifically in junior high. And I'm hoping that today you'll have an opportunity to become more familiar with Edwin and how it can be used in your classroom practice. Although the goal of this presentation is to ideally meet folks in the middle, if we miss your needs, extra help is available, and I will share that with you at the end of this webinar. So first off, in case you're unfamiliar with Edwin or brand new to it, just going to give you a brief introduction. It is an online educational ecosystem. We call it an ecosystem because it's an interconnected system that allows both teachers and students access to curriculum-aligned content in a safe, equitable, and flexible way. We like to call it the Swiss Army knife for digital teaching and learning because there's lots of tools at your fingertips and you can combine them in any way. First thing I'm going to do is just play a quick little video for you to illustrate an inside perspective of Edwin.
I have a bit of an inside perspective. Not only am I the principal of a school where Edwin is in play, I'm also the dad of a student who's using the Edwin software. I'm just very, very impressed when my son shares with me all the great things that he can do on the Edwin. Take a backseat as an administrator and put my lens on as a dad and say, wow, that's amazing. Can you show me a little more?
It really takes some of that management side of teaching and lets me focus on a lot more of that connection side. I'm not looking for papers or waiting for things to be submitted. It's all right there.
Having the Edwin library where they can research and know that all of the content that's there has already been filtered for them already puts me as a teacher at ease and puts them at ease.
She is really embracing learning, and that's an amazing thing as a parent to see.
Having his own device just lets him fly. It's made him equal to his peers, and it's allowed the teachers to see how smart he is.
We have to have a bit of courage, and we have to figure out that these kids are going to teach us.
You've got to be a risk taker. You've got to put your own fears aside and really let the kids explore.
Everyone is smart. It's just a different kind of smart.
If you challenge them, but also prepare them with the tools that they need, they will do things that amaze you.
Okay, so what is Edwin? It is a library of resources. We've brought in content and tools for teachers and students to explore what's in the library. Now, the Nelson Library of Resources have been digitized and enhanced. We also partnered with other publishers like McGraw-Hill and multimedia developers such as Twig, Bow Clips, and McIntyre Media to help students and teachers explore topics. There are educator tools that help us to explore that content as well. And some of these tools and our partner apps also allow us to create units, assessments, and demonstrations of learning. And this is how we go above and beyond just being a content provider to creating engaging and interactive lessons for students. Lastly, Edwin features provide the option for teachers to collaborate with students and colleagues, and for students to collaborate with each other. We like to show this slide just as a little bit of a reminder about where your learners are coming from. So our typical students don't know a world without this type of technology. And it's our responsibility to do everything we can to prepare them for their world by meeting them where they are. So students who are using Edwin right now were born in the middle of all of this tech development. And often they are already online and are waiting for us. So we're trying to meet them there and bring opportunities to learn to them. Now, if you've never logged into the Edwin app before, this process is a really important one. There are a couple of aspects I just want to illustrate for you. And the first is this one. Choosing your province ensures that you have access to resources that are aligned directly with the Alberta Program of Studies. The next step is selecting your grade, and you can actually select up to 3 grades. So can students. We know that not only are our teaching assignments diverse, but we also have complex student needs in our class groupings. Being able to select up to 3 grade levels provides resources that we can use to scaffold understanding by providing intervention and enrichment resources. Lastly, although you may find yourself as the science teacher or the social studies teacher, having the ability to search for resources in all core subject areas means greater flexibility in producing integrated learning opportunities and planning for concept-based learning. So these are our guiding questions for today. Number 1, we're going to explore, how do I prepare for teaching? Then we're going to look at creating, how do I engage students in learning? And lastly, collaboration, how do I continue my professional learning journey? And we're going to begin with, how do I prepare for teaching? So I'm just going to switch over to my Edwin account at this point. I'm just going to make sure that I have it set to Alberta. Oh, look at that. I was in a different part of the country today. There we go. And I've got my grade level set to 7, 8, 9, all 4 core subject areas. So that's the content that I'm going to see in the library as I'm searching it today. So we have something in Edwin called collections. These are ready-made lessons or units. We often refer to them as curated playlists of content, much like you can find playlists on Spotify. And these resources can be edited, shared, and used for inspiration to build, organize, and design your own, which I'm going to walk through for you today. Now, all of the content in these collections and in the Edwin Library are safe, vetted, and trusted resources that have been tailored to student learning and aligned with the Alberta curriculum. So first thing we're going to do is find a collection. So I am taking my cursor over to the left-hand side where you see 5 icons in our menu. We are currently on the home icon. I'm going to the second icon, which is the Edwin Collections browser. And we're going to try and find a couple of collections today. There are a variety of ways we can do this. Number 1, we can search by keyword. So keyword search terms can include skills like read or analyze. So there are collections that have to do with reading and analyze. They can be topics such as hockey or music. You can also enter search terms like nouns such as podcast or project. And of course, you can enter search terms that are subjects like maths or history. So that's doing a keyword search. The alternative method of searching the catalog is over here in the top left-hand corner. There is an all collections drop-down menu. And from here, I can search certain categories. I can search subject areas and grade level ranges. So let's look at physical and health education grades 6 to 8. There we go. We've got 3 collections, and actually there's an arrow here, which means that there are even more just by scrolling to the right. Alternatively, I could filter to French language. Or let's say I want social studies, global issues, grades 9 to 10. And another way to browse the collections browser is simply by scrolling through the categories. So you'll see here that there's a category label right at the top. These are our featured collections, so much like the featured menu at a restaurant. Secondly, we have current events. Nice thing is we also have a current events archive. So even though they're not necessarily currently current, they will still be available to you. Days of significance is another category within here. And then, of course, we have the same categories that we see when we open up the drop-down menu. So I'm going to sit a little bit longer on each of these categories. Featured collections are not typically grade or subject specific. And not only are they available here, I'm just going to navigate back to the home page very briefly. So I'm using the home icon in the upper left-hand corner here. Our featured collections also sit right in the center of the home page. And these rotate fairly frequently. Basically every week, week and a half, there are new featured collections available. I'm going back to my collection browser, second icon on the left-hand side. So there's our featured collections. We also have current events collections. Now, you'll notice that the naming system in these ones, it says take 10 at the end of each of these. That's because these are meant to be used or great to use as a bell ringer activity. They're meant to take only about 10 or 15 minutes to go through with your students, just to get their brain juices flowing and get conversation going and open the day or open up the topic. There are certain collections that have a slide deck in here. I'm actually going to find one that we can take a look at. Oh, I went the wrong way. Let's look at our current events collections. Let's look at how coding improves lives. So I'm going to open this up. Now, it says I already have this collection in my collections, which is totally fine. I can open in this existing copy that I have, or I can create a new copy, either one. Here it provides us a description of the collection, a description just that students see, teaching notes. There's an overview of what's included in it, how you can use it. And we also have the resources that are available here. Now, the neat thing about this collection in particular is that if you look at the first resource, Take 10, How Coding Improves Lives, Edwin Slide Deck for Google. So in this collection specifically, there is a slide deck already created for you to use with your students. So I've opened up the collection. Here's all that information we saw in that little preview pane, but now it's just bigger, easier to see. Here are the resources again. I'm going to take us to this slide deck here. Although this one says specifically that it's for Google, we have other slide decks that are for other platforms as well, like PowerPoint. And here's a great example of how you can combine Edwin with other resources to teach a topic to students or a concept. On the slides, you'll see that there are items linked here. So when I click on it, this is actually an Edwin resource, as is this one. And this one is from the Hour of Code webpage. So this is just one way that you can integrate Edwin resources into another learning tool. And then students can respond to these questions. You can use them as discussion prompts, and this can be used synchronously or asynchronously in remote or face-to-face or hybrid learning environments. I'm going to go back to my Edwin page. So there we go. I'm going to go back to my homepage just as a nice landing starting point. And now I'm going to grab an Edwin collection, but this time let's edit it and tailor it to our specific needs, because that's totally possible as well. I'm going to find a Days of Significance collection. Let's actually just use International Volunteer Day. Opportunity to find out about International Volunteer Day, ask them how they will participate, etc. Yep, this is the one I'm going to use. Copy to my collections. When you click on that Copy to my collections button, what it does is it makes your own copy. So any changes that you make to this will not affect anybody else's copy of this collection. So I am going to edit this. This looks like a really great starting point, but now I'm going to go through the wrapper information. Maybe not all of it today, as there's quite a bit here, but I'm going to go through most of it, and I'm just going to customize it to my needs. So first off, I'm going to click on the edit pencil in the upper right-hand corner, and I'm going to add a subject here. That's important so that I can find it more easily later in my collection screen. I teach grade 7 for the most part. I'm going to assign this as a grade 7 social studies collection. Tags are also used to help sort and organize your collections. So I'm just going to use words that come out of the items in here and the descriptor there. So volunteer, action. Oh, I don't want chemical reactions. I just want action. Oh, look at how many I've got there. There we go. Action, world change. Oh, there's a slide deck in this one as well. Perfect. So I'm going to put slide deck in there. And UNV, I see some mention of the UN here. I'm going to click save because I'm a teacher and I automatically use Control Save all the time or Command Save. So I'm just going to click it here and I'm going to continue to edit. So let's take a look at this original description. I really don't need this first paragraph of information, so I'm going to remove that. I don't need in the process. I'm just going to start with students will have opportunities. And I'm going to delete this little bit. So this collection provides opportunities for students to investigate this day of significance. There we go. And you know what? I'm actually going to reorganize the learning goals because I feel like the primary learning goal here would be increase understanding of the day of significance. And in doing so, they're going to develop an idea, a web to explore, read, view, create text, edit, revise, etc. There we go. That makes more sense to me. I can also edit the description for students. I like this little hook sort of thing there. But what I am going to do, I'm going to delete this question, why should I participate in the day? And instead I'm going to add, how has volunteer work shaped the world we live in? How can I participate? And I'm going to actually add to this one. I would love to ask questions, how can I participate? How can I volunteer? But I need to add a little addendum for today's environment. How might volunteering look now in a COVID world? We can just extend the conversation then. I mean, there's one piece to have a conversation about volunteering, but it's another to extend that and expand it into different environments and where different restrictions or limitations might exist. Okay, I'm going to go down to the teaching notes now. I don't need this. That's not really necessary for me right now. So I'm going to move the guiding questions up. Oh, actually, you know what? I don't even need these because they're already up here in the student direction. So let's just get rid of that. Yeah, I'm going to leave that for now. I'm not going to go through all of the rest of those teaching notes. And I'm going to scroll down to assessment. Now, I'm the kind of teacher who I really like to have my formative and my summative assessment very clearly delineated in my mind. So I'm going to put two little headings there. And under formative, I'm going to put partner discussion and table expansion, which is related to slide 5 because I previewed the slide deck already. And reflection questions, I'm going to have them do a vlog entry, referring to slide 6 of the slide deck. Now, summative, I don't want to use these. I'm going to make my own summative assessment. They're going to identify, I need to unbold that, issues and solutions related to volunteering in a COVID world. That's going to be their summative assessment. And I'm just going to leave the skills and competencies for now. Click save. Always click save. There we go. So I've edited that. So it's a little bit more particular to me. I need another bit of time here to go through the teaching notes specifically, but I'll leave it as is for now. The other nice thing is here are the resources, but we can edit this section as well. So I see now I'm going to open up the International Volunteer Day, the slide deck. And I've gone through the slide deck and I see that it's already linked to the UNV website. So going back to my collection here, I don't actually need International Volunteer. I don't need this one, the homepage link, because it's already in the slideshow. So I'm opening up the little menu on the right-hand side here. There's the trash can. I'm just going to delete that item. I'm also going to add some resources. So I have this really great collection of resources called Heroes in Action. So I've got this Add Items button in the top right-hand corner. I'm going to, actually, you know what? We can add from the library, we can add a link, or we can add a file. I already have the collection of the Heroes in Action, so I'm just going to go back to that one and get the links. And you can add, now when we search the library, that's items from the Edwin Library of Resources. But you can also get links from the World Wide Web or your own files. And I'm going to add my own file as well. So let's take a look here. 12-year-old climate activist, organization Plant for the Planet. There we go. This is the one I'm going to add. So I'm going to get the link for it. I'm going to go back to my collections. And I'm going to open up my International Volunteer Day and add that item. No, I'm not. Delete all that. Okay. Now I want to add a resource as well. So what I can do is I can actually click on this Add Items button. I can go to the library, which is the Edwin catalog, and I can add resources from there. I can add a link from the World Wide Web, or I can add a file from my own computer. So PDFs, Words, PowerPoints, Excels, JPEGs, PNGs, anything that's less than 50 megabytes. In this case, I actually have the resources already saved in another collection. They are Edwin Library resources, but I'm just going to pop over to that collection and I'm going to open up those resources. So they're called these Heroes in Action resources. Here it is, Heroes in Action. So I found all of these great Heroes in Action resources in the Edwin catalog quite a while ago, and I made a collection for another teacher. So I'm going to add a couple of these to my volunteering collection. On the right-hand side, the hidden menu, this is the button I use to add it to another collection, International Volunteer Day. Once it turns that light blue color, I know it's been added. See, I can see it's in another collection as well. I'm just going to add a couple of these. It actually doesn't matter which ones I add, simply because they are all about volunteer work. They're all about children volunteering, Heroes in Action. Let's just do those three. And I'm going to go back to my collection. And I'm just going to do a little bit more reorganizing to make this sort of the final version that I want to use. So I'm going to move this overview link, I think. This is part of the UNV website. Students can investigate. Oh, let's just hover over it. Investigate previous campaigns of the UNV. Yeah, I'm going to actually start with that. So that one I'm going to click and drag on the bottom right-hand corner, shift it up right underneath the slide deck. There we go. And I want to make sure there are my Heroes in Action resources now added. Wonderful. Okay. I like it a whole lot more now. Now the only thing I have left to do is edit my teaching notes, and I'm good to use this. So that is using an Edwin collection that already exists and adapting it for your needs. The next thing we can do is create our own collection from scratch. So I've already referred to my collections, and that's actually where we are right now. So on the left-hand side, when you look at the 5 icons, we're currently in the third one called Your Collections. I can navigate back to the main page by clicking on that, or by clicking on the Your Collections title here. Either one. So Edwin's flexibility means that you can combine it with your existing plans and resources. I'm just going to walk you through how to create a collection from scratch, but using the existing Edwin collections information to help me fill it in. Okay, so first off, I need to pick a topic. I'm going to build a science collection. So let's do, I'm going to click on the plus sign inside the circle here to create a new collection. And all I'm going to do is add a name. I'm going to call it biotic factors. Oh, look at that. And I'm going to click Save down at the bottom. Okay, it's created a new card for me. So now to open that card up, all I have to do is click on the title and I can start adding resources to it. Now I'm going to do biotic factors, which I can use either for grade 7 science as an introduction unit, interactions in ecosystems, or I can use it in grade 9 science for review and scaffolding for biological diversity. So I'll decide that later. First, what I want to do is find learning objects to add. So I'm going to click on the Add Items button, and I'm going to go to the library to search for resources. And I'm going to use keyword search because right now we have we have 3,000 exactly resources. So let's look up biotic. Okay. So we've got quite a few here, 13 results, 4 of them are videos. Obviously, I think I'll need like the introducing ecosystems is likely the first one that I'll need. So I'm going to open up that menu on the right-hand side, click on the folder with the plus sign and add it to my biotic factors collection. There we go. I also want, well, obviously biotic parts of an ecosystem. That's one that I'm going to need. So let's add that to my collection. And I think I might actually want a little bit like explore how human activities and other biotic. I'm going to look at the information about this. I want to see this a little bit more. So I'm going to open that hidden menu here, click on the information icon and just read it. So explore how human activities and other biotic and abiotic factors influence biogeochemical cycles, such as the water and carbon cycles. Yeah. I mean, it has mention of abiotic factors as well, but this might be a good one to segue from biotic into abiotic. So I am going to add this to my collection. I see a video here. I definitely want to add a video, biotic factors. Yes, because there are some students who need that different learning style or have that different learning style and need those different resources to meet them where they are. And then, you know what? I like perform an activity. Let's just open this one up really quick. Look at the information here. They're going to conduct an ecosystem survey. Yep, love it. Going to add that to my collection as well. Okay, now that's 5 resources. That's more than enough. So I'm actually just going to leave it there. I'm going to go back up to my biotic factors collection. So I'm in the top left-hand corner right now. There's this handy dandy little navigation menu here. So I'm just going to pop back to my collection there. There we go. There are those 5 resources. Now, my next phase in doing this is I typically read through these. I take a look at them. I might just open up the information and read that. And then I make notes in the pane here about what it's about and how I might use it. Right now, I know that I want introducing first. I like to take a project-based approach to instruction. So I know that I'm going to introduce the project or the activity to them next. And we're going to learn concepts as we work through that project or that activity. And then obviously I need biotic parts. I'd love to have the video, either one. I mean, these two can go in either order. And then this will be the transition piece to abiotic factors. So I think I have my order all figured out. Now, I made mention that in the Edwin collections, they have all these headings and they have all these sections and this information included. I'm going to tell you exactly what they've included in there. So I'm clicking on the pencil. Under the description in this box, they have learning goals, guiding questions, and the instructional sequence. Under the description for students, there's a motivational hook of some sort. And I'm actually going to add one of my own, which is a to-do list. So I like to give my students instructions right in the wrapper of the collection because I share the entire collection with them. Under the teaching notes in the Edwin collections, they put supports and enrichments. So I'm going to do that. Assessment, I've already said that I like to have formative and summative. And then if I really want skills and competencies, I can do that. Adding the curriculum is really easy as well. I'll actually just show you a sneak sort of way of doing that. I can look at the information aspect of an Edwin resource. Oh, of course, that one didn't have any. Let's look at this one. Oh my goodness, I need to refresh my Edwin. It's because I've traveled all over the country today that it's a little bit confused. Are we in Manitoba? Are we in Ontario? Who knows? We're in Alberta today. So let's try that again. There we go. So Science 7, here is the actual curricular outcome. So I'm just going to copy that and chuck it into the curriculum here. So now obviously I know, okay, well, that's the Science 7 curricular outcome. So I better select Science 7 up here. I'm going to add some tags, biotic factors, ecosystem, activity, what else? Abiotic. There we go. And click save. Okay. I can add 2 other kinds of resources, and I am actually going to add a couple more. So I'm going to click on that Add Items button again. This time I'm going to add a file from my own, well, it's from my own resources, but I got it from Learn 360. It's this really great handout, human factors. So I'm just dragging and dropping it from my desktop. Human factors diagram from Learn 360. Click save. And what it does is it adds as another little item down at the bottom here, human factors. And I'm actually going to use that to extend as well and to shift us into the next part of our discussion. So I'm going to leave it exactly in the order that it's in. The other piece that I want to add for myself only is a link to the Spark Telecenter, because I like to check, especially now that most things are online, I like to check to see what programs they have. So I'm going to put that in there, TELUS Spark Science Center. But this is just for me to check back and to see, do they have something about ecosystems, about biotic and abiotic? So I'm going to turn the toggle to teacher only. So I'm the only one who sees it, even if I share this entire collection with my students. Okay. There we go. So let's say I've filled in all of this information. It would take me a bit too much time to do that right now, and I'm cognizant of how long this webinar is. So I'm going to leave this for now. Let's pretend that it's finished, and now I want to share it. I want to send it to my colleague because we are teaching grade 7 science together. Or I want to teach it or send it to my humanities colleague. Maybe I'm the math science teacher. I want to share it with my humanities colleague so we can front load vocabulary in a graphic organizer, in language arts, in preparation for investigating this topic in science. So there's this link or this button up at the top to get the shareable link. It looks like a chain link. And as soon as you click on it, the link is copied to your computer's clipboard. So now all I would have to do is paste it. So I could even paste it right here. I could put it into an email. I could send it in a text message, whatever. And that person will have their own copy of this collection, which means that if they make any changes to it, it won't affect my copy. And if I make any changes to mine, it won't affect their copy. If I want to assign it to my students, if I am a Google Classroom school board, there is an actual button here that I can assign it directly to my students. I'll just show you what that looks like really quick. So here it is. There's my grade 8. I can choose an action, create an assignment, ask a question, make an announcement, create material, click go. And it's the same process that we're all very familiar with. Alternatively, if you are in a Microsoft Teams board, there's also a Microsoft Teams button here, and you can share it to Microsoft Teams instead. Unfortunately, that opens a new pop-up window on my computer, so you can't see it right now. But what you can do is either share it to a team or a channel, or you can create an assignment in a team using this collection. So then students they will see a link to the collection in Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams, or if you're using D2L or Brightspace or Moodle, you can just get the shareable link and paste it in there. When they click on it, they'll be prompted to copy to My Collections, and then they will own this as well, and they can work their way through it. There we go. Just going to navigate back to the home page. And that is, how do I prepare for teaching? We just have 2 other pieces left. How do I engage students in learning? So the question to ask here is, what engages students in learning? And how does Edwin do that? So, number 1, building student engagement, providing choice. Students having some say or control or autonomy over their learning builds their engagement. And the nature of the Edwin ecosystem is such that teachers can relinquish control and allow your students to create their own learning paths. They can create their own collections. They can call them interesting stuff, things I like, my work, work I'm proud of, things to share with my parents or my guardians. These collections that they create can be shared with other students and with you, which is aligned with collaborative learning, another characteristic of building student engagement. Alternatively, you can create collections of learning objects, so Edwin resources, from which students can choose their own learning adventure within guidelines that you have set, that you have established. One method of doing that is using a choice board. So this choice board was adapted using a template from Casey Bell at Shake Up Learning. So in it, you'll see that I've incorporated Edwin throughout. So in communication, they can choose one of these activities. Oh, whoops. Let's go back to that. So in communication, they can choose one of these activities. Summarize what you've learned from Edwin using a digital tool of your choice. Choose a concept from one of this week's Edwin learning objects from a collection I've shared with them to teach to another student. Collaborate with a partner. Create an Edwin collection of your thoughts, ideas, questions, reflections, resources you find, and share it with your peers. Or in your team with your partner, discuss possible solutions to a problem, develop a solution, create a representation of your solution using a tool of your choice. And Edwin could simply be a tool that they use out of multiple options available to them. Choose an image provided in the Edwin collection shared this week. Make inferences, retell the story. Use Edwin to research a current issue that you're passionate about. Create. These ones are kind of neat because you don't have to use the content within Edwin. You could just talk about Edwin. They could use Edwin to learn in terms of Edwin as a topic. List as many uses for an Edwin collection on dance that you can think of in 10 minutes. Reinvent Edwin. If Edwin could be anything you wanted it to be, what would it look like? Gosh, think about all of the topics and the concepts that would open up with your students, regardless of the subject area that you teach. Other factors that build student engagement: interest and self. Interest means a mastery orientation mindset. This is aligned with having choice. Students can choose topics that they are interested in, thereby creating a desire to learn. There are a broad variety of topics integrated within the Edwin catalog through which students can learn competencies, skills, and concepts that can be transferred between subject areas. That's part of concept-based learning. Self means incorporating their past experiences, their knowledge, and their hobbies. And this is aligned with having interest because students are interested in topics related to themselves and their experience, right? And this can be achieved simply by using Edwin as, piquing a student's familiarity with or joy of using technology over textbooks. Again, Edwin learning objects incorporate a broad variety of topics. I'm just going to pop back over to Edwin really quick to give you an example of that. Just like the search terms I used when searching the collections, you can use those here. I just typed in hockey. We've got dance, art. Oh, I'm so used to typing in area because I'm a math teacher. There we go. Art, airports. Hey, maybe they're nuts about flying. Obviously, flight is in here for grade 6. Coding, lots of hour of code resources. Gaming, heroes, sports. There are experiments. I mean, the list goes on. So there's lots of opportunity for students to incorporate their sense of self and their interests using Edwin. Another factor that builds student engagement, meaningful work, which means providing activities that are personally meaningful and personally relevant. This is aligned with interest and self. Students will find work meaningful if they can connect it to their interests, their sense of self, and real life. And Edwin provides resources for you to design meaningful work. Quite literally, you can actually just go to your Edwin and search the keyword real life and look at all of these challenges in real life. Look at the span of subject areas and grade levels. We've got 326 results spanning all 4 core areas, subject areas, and 3 grade levels. So there you go. Second last factor building in student engagement is competence or success. So doing things well and considering themselves good at what they do. This is aligned with choice, interest, self, and meaningful work. Students feel successful or competent and do well with learning that they've had a say in, that interests them and incorporates self, and that they see as meaningful. Edwin is adaptive to student needs. There are multiple grade levels for skill practice differentiation. In the reader, I'll just take you to a learning object really quickly. That's what we call Edwin resources. I know I've been using that phrase throughout. In the reader, we have text to speech. Students have the ability to find the definitions for terms. There's a self-assessment tool within here where they can respond to I can statements. And they can communicate their needs to you. So if they are trying to let you know that, hey, I don't get it, they can do that, and it populates your dashboard in Edwin, so you get that information. Edwin resources also allow teachers to create differentiated learning paths for each student. You can pick and choose resources. You can create collections for extension collections, intervention collections. There are math tools that provide opportunity to scaffold instruction for students and with students. And there are related resources that are available if students require extra practice or a different explanation of a topic. So that's how we can use Edwin to build competence or to build success in learning. And the last factor for building student engagement is collaborative learning. So connecting with others through success experienced as a group. Now, this is really key. I took these from Nicholas Pino James' Edutopia article called Golden Rules from Engaging Students in Learning Activities, which he wrote in 2014. And I thought his definition of collaborative learning is really poignant. It's not just about connecting with others, but connecting with others through success experienced as a group. This is aligned with interest, meaningful work, and competence or success. Some students are simply more interested in collaborative learning, and they find what they do with others to be more meaningful than what they do on their own. Additionally, some students require the support of others or a shared experience to feel confident about their own learning. Edwin provides opportunities for students to collaborate. So we've touched on a couple of those. They can share Edwin resources with each other. They can share collections with each other. But there are a couple of others. In an Edwin learning object, they can take notes, save to Google Docs, and share with their peers and their teacher. In the math tools, there's a little camera down at the very bottom here where they can take a screenshot of their workspace and then share that with a peer, with their guardians, with you. And of course, you can just have students collaborate on a task that is associated with some Edwin resources or an Edwin resource. So the factors of building student engagement, Edwin supports each of these. And our last topic for the day, how do I continue my professional learning journey? So we have something called the Edwin community. I'm going to take you there through the Edwin app because it's accessible via the Edwin app. So I'm navigating down to the bottom left-hand corner of my Edwin app. There's a speech bubble with a question mark in there. And there are lots of help resources here, but the final one is the one we want, the educator community. That's the one we're going to navigate to. And here it is. I'm just going to expand my window a little bit. There we go. We're going to focus on the left-hand side here. And what I'm going to do is start at the bottom at workshops and work my way up. So first off, workshops, continuing your learning journey. In here, you have the potential to improve your instructional practices, improve your assessment practices, collaborate with other teachers, seek help, find resources. And our first step is these workshops. We have a lot of resources or workshops associated with using Edwin in various subject areas, assessment, synchronous and asynchronous learning. We have others coming up that include special education, social emotional learning with students, assessment and differentiation. And the key here is that these workshops are 20 minutes. So unlike this 1-hour webinar, if you just have 20 minutes in your day, sign up for a workshop. And even if you register and, the life of a teacher is ever changing, so you're suddenly unable to actually attend, it's recorded. They're all recorded. And if you have registered, the recording will automatically be sent to you. But the recordings are also available in the Edwin community. So that's the first one. I'm going back to the left-hand side here. So we were on workshops. Now I'm going to navigate to make a request. Well, hey, if you don't see a workshop there that you would love to be a part of, make a request. You can also make any other requests on here. We are asking you, do you need resources? Do you have resources? Are you looking for help on a specific topic? Share what workshops you would like us to add. So don't hesitate to advocate on your behalf. We're always encouraging our students to advocate on their own behalf. You need to do the same as a teacher, and we've got that avenue available for you. I'm moving up now to what's new. This is an important one because every week we post in here the newest collections that have been added to the Edwin ecosystem. So if you've searched and searched and searched and you've looked for something and it's not in there, check back each week, make a request, or check back each week and see, all right, has it been added? What else has been added? What else can I add to my tickle trunk of resources here using Edwin? I'm going back to the left-hand side. I'm going up to the next tab, resources. So here's something really neat. All of these resources are tagged with different subject areas. We're also asking, hey, what else do you need? There are phys ed and health resources available here, literacy skills, readers theaters, choice boards, English as a second language, Remembrance Day. I'm actually going to show you a really neat one here. So I'm going to do a search because you can actually just search the community. And I'm going to search inquiry-based learning then. There we go. Okay, now there's something in particular that I'd love to show you. Oh yeah, it was the Remembrance Day learning activity. In here, yes, there's a Remembrance Day activity, but there's also this other great resource. So this was something created by one of our classroom success team people. He created an inquiry-based learning template to use with Edwin collections. So that's pretty awesome. If you are approaching teaching from an inquiry-based lens or a project-based lens, I actually own a copy of this already, so I'm going to open that one up. This is a template that you can start with. There's all this information in here that you can use to help you populate it. There's a series or sequence of resources here that sort of illustrate how it can be used. So these are the kinds of things that you'll find on the Edwin community. I'm going to go back home. Lastly, we also have this little section here where you can ask a question, share an idea, share a resource. What I would really love for you to do, two things. I'm going to give you two action items. I'd love for you to head to the community, go to make a request, and let us know what's on your wish list. And it doesn't need to be a resource. It can be, I wish I had an extra body, an extra adult to manage the chat box during my synchronous remote sessions. Or I wish I had somebody just to toss ideas around with to help me with my planning, for 20 minutes at the end of the day. Let us know what's on your wish list, because I bet you we can fill it, or at least we're going to try our hardest to do so. The other action item I'm going to give you is go to the Edwin community. And what I'd love for you to do, I'm just going to go back to my homepage. Up here in this box, I'd love for you to share an idea. And I'd love for you to say ATA, you can call it ATA conventions. And you can use the phrase, I used to think, now I think. So in this case, I might say, I used to think resources were really difficult to find for learning, particularly online, and reliable, vetted, safe for students. Now I think I've got Edwin. What else do I need? Yeah. And I'm just going to give you one more step. Click on Add Topics. And this is basically, we're tagging it. So tag it ATA conventions. Create that new topic, click done, and then that way we can see what's getting you excited about Edwin. What did you learn from your ATA conventions experience this year? Used to think, now I think. Last two pieces here. Number one, again, in your Edwin ecosystem, down in the speech bubble in the bottom left-hand corner with the question mark, there are other help resources available as well. There is the Help Center and the Contact Support buttons. Those are also available in the Edwin community. Lastly, so up here is the Need Help. There's our help resources. And then lastly, you can also book a consultation with myself, an Alberta educator of 12 years, with another classroom success team facilitator. You can book a one-to-one. You can book a small group work period. We can talk about planning, PD assessment, whatever tickles your fancy in whatever subject area. We can also be guest visitors to your classroom. So if you want to introduce Edwin to your students, don't waste time preparing a lesson. We already have those lessons prepared, and we can be a guest speaker in your class and teach that lesson to your students for you. So take advantage of that. edwinvisit.as.me, and follow us on Twitter at Edwin Classroom and at Nelson Classroom. If you're not on Twitter, I encourage you to go there, just because we have lots of Edwin teachers on Twitter, and what they do is they share pictures and ideas of how they're using Edwin in their classroom. So it's a really great place to get inspiration and to just see what else is possible with Edwin. And that's it today. Thank you so very much for joining us. If you ever have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us on the Edwin Educator community. I am here. The entire Classroom Success team is here, and we'd love to connect with you and work with you throughout the rest of the school year and into next. Take care.